Introducing Top Thrill Dragster.
Top Thrill Dragster opened in 2003 as the world's tallest and fastest roller coaster, and while it no longer holds that title, it was arguably the best ride at Cedar Point. In 2021, the ride had a severe accident, causing the ride's closure for the rest of the 2022 season. Since then, the coaster's future has been questionable, but we now have some possible answers. Today, we will discuss everything that has been leading up to now and the most significant news update we've had yet. First, let's dive into what happened on Dragster. In August of 2021, the ride had a part underneath the train snap off and it hit a guest waiting in line for the ride. The queue line of the ride sits right underneath the brake run, so this snap off would be lethal to guests staying in line. Of course, with proper maintenance, this would not have happened. After the Ohio Department of Agriculture's analysis, the ride remained closed to fit the to-do list. This included replacing any damaged track pieces and parts of the train. During the closure, there were 2 hints that the ride would be staying. Now that we have new information released earlier today, these hints may be invalid, but they are still important. The first was that in July, the big lights underneath Dragster were lit. This may not be a big deal, but this was the first time Cedar Point acknowledged the coaster since the incident. Coaster enthusiasts went crazy over this incident, and while I think it's just the park trying to look more appealing at night with the lights, it could be a sign of Cedar Point's acknowledgement. The other hint was during the Cedar Point announcement video. The park states that it has 18 coasters, and even including Pipestream, this number would only be 17 without Dragster. Now, in my opinion, this still doesn't confirm the ride reopening, as Cedar Point may only be saying this for an ego boost and since the ride hasn't been removed yet. It's SBNO, or since been non-operating, but not removed, so the park still technically has 18 coasters. Now let's get into the meat of the video. Something I made a video on before, linked in the description, were the markers around Dragster. There are countless markings around the ride and only around this ride. These stretch from the lake by Iron Dragon to the top hat by Snake River Expedition.
So they're doing some...
It's very interesting how far it stretches.
Very far, so they're definitely doing something rather large.
Also, almost every single survey marker is in use. This includes green for sewage, blue for water, red for electricity, yellow for gas, and orange for communication, and also pink survey markers where the nail is in the ground that shows the height of the area.
Survey benchmark right there, that little nail in the concrete. It's just a pin number, but they know what the elevation is so they can shoot relative topo around here for grading.
Most of these markings were outside the ride near the launch area and top hat, but some led inside the queue area and into the maintenance shed. Now, according to my dad, who is an engineer for some cities, if anything is moved, even something as small as a fence, markers need to be made so construction workers don't run into any pipes or lines. So this could be just a fence in the area, or the whole ride being demolished. We don't know. But this isn't just by the launch track, this is around the whole area. So this makes everyone think about what is happening. They wouldn't mark around the top hat just to move the launch track, so something must be happening around the whole coaster. But we'll get into predictions later. Let's dive into the biggest news and newest views of the video. Released today from a worker at Cedar Point was this message. Thanks to Reddit user FlipSlips for posting this on r/rollercoasters. The message reads, "Finally, a visible sign of progress is visible on Dragster. The launch cables have been removed. I'm not sure if this is good or bad, but considering the cables have sat for a year unattended, I'm guessing it's a good thing. I'll get a good picture later." So the whole cables for Dragster have been removed. Top Thrill Dragster works in a catch car mechanism. After some hydrogen and water compresses, the pressure is released and the cable is pulled underneath the train, pulling it. This cable was removed from under the track, so the ride now has no launching mechanism. Now this could mean something more, or this could just be a replacement after it lay dormant for a year. So what could this mean? Was this removal what the markings are for? Let's jump into some predictions. So what could this all mean? Let's get into the predictions that make sense with all of the information, from the markings to the launch mechanism. My first prediction was that Dragster's queue line would be changing. Now this could still make sense. I don't know if I mentioned that in the video, but there used to be a little cut through from Magnum to Dragster and this employee path that Cedar Point regulars use. This section had many markings in it, and it is a very big area away from the brake run. This would make sense why the markings go into the structure and on the path, as the markings, as previously stated, are for any groundwork, even as small as a queue line removal. The only thing that doesn't line up is the markings around the whole ride, which we'll get into that in a minute. I am fairly certain the launch will be staying the same with the cable being a replacement, but what if it isn't? Could the launch system be replaced? We know that Dragster is a mechanical nightmare because of this problematic system, so what if the ride is replaced with LSMs? I doubt the ride will be replaced with air compression or LIMs, as those are more costly than LSMs, but LSMs are possible. These would tame the ride quite a bit and also explain the markings around the Dragster area, but these still don't explain the markings around the top hat. So my guess for these markings is that they need to modify the lines underneath the top hat and around that ride. I doubt the ride layout is changing at all. Could it? Yes, but Cedar Point is already spending tons to fix the coaster and operate it annually. Would they add more tracks to maintain it after it closed for an accident? Probably not. Also, there isn't much space in the area for a new layout. I highly doubt the layout will be changed. The entrance in and out of the top hat could very well be changed though. Maybe they even extend the brake run so that the drop down is trimmed a bit so the brake run is slower. Also, it was revealed that multiple bushes have been removed around the station, which could mean nothing or could mean a modified brake run away from the queue, which would again explain all the markings around the ride. There are a lot of possibilities for Dragster, but one of them that isn't going to happen is the ride closing. The replacement of the cable is either a different mechanism or the cable being refurbished. Cedar Point would not remove this iconic ride. Also, if they were, the ride would not have been under this much construction work already. They would have announced the closure of the ride already instead of waiting more years and paying electricity bills on the lights of the ride. Cedar Point has never removed an icon before. I also know some people travel to Cedar Point just for this ride, so don't worry, Dragster will not be removed. Also, Dragster is probably the most well-received coaster at Cedar Point. The reactions alone say how much the people love this ride.
Let's see what their reactions are.
Of course, this is just a prediction, so if it is removed, which it probably will not be, don't come back to this video commenting that I was wrong. My prediction is the queue changes with the brake run modified and the cable is just a replacement. LSMs are possible, but a new layout or removal is not. Please consider subscribing and leaving a like if you enjoyed. Comment what your predictions for Dragster are and have a great rest of your day.